I don't see Priscilla on yet, so appreciate everybody's patience, but we'll call the meeting to order and get things going. Hold on a second. Okay, so apologies again. I just talked to Priscilla. She's having problems with her computer service linking on. So she's heading to Barbara's office at Town Hall to join Barbara there and get on that way. But we can start the meeting. Won't make any major decisions until
You could just come here.
she could.
Yeah. Do you have her mobile?
Yeah.
Just give her a call. Just
Right.
tell her to come to my house.
All right. Save some gas. All right. I'll be.
Sure. Yeah, she can just park right in front and come in the front door.
Okay. All right. So Priscilla is heading to the railroad station. So on the 7:38.
I'm making sure the
Right.
light's on. I can hear you.
Okay. So we'll wait for the train to pull in and we'll be all set.
Are you gonna wait for her, Gordon?
Well, we can go through a couple of routine things, I think.
Okay.
Just to keep, we got a long agenda.
Okay.
Are you all set, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. First thing is approval of minutes of September 20th. There's a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is communications. The I had a couple of communications. One is that it is nice to see we've got a second set of fiber optic cabinets on Route 128 by the intersection of Wright Hill Road. So my understanding was that after they install the two cabinets, the Optimum would start stringing fiber optic cable in town, which would be a big a big achievement. So anyway, it was good to see they put that in pretty quickly. I also did see, as I was getting ready for tonight's meeting, an advertisement on the screen for Frontier Communication to have fiber optic to your house. So again, there's a couple different systems that are set up, and actually state of Connecticut has installed fiber through Frontier to the town hall for the voting machine. So it does seem like there's a couple options where are coming along, whereas a year or two ago we didn't have any options. And so anyway, that's very good to see. Also, if we have a minute, just like to thank James and Adela Shepherd for their time at the Cornwall Country Market, 10 years, keeping the lights on there. When they started, we were in a down period for Cornwall Bridge, where there was for a period of time no market, and they kept the lights on and actually improved this things there. So there's emergency generators, so when we have bad weather, people could have that as a place not just to meet and greet, but have hot food and place as a warming center. So anyway, wish them well on their new place and look forward to the new business that's be moving in there shortly. So again, it's important to have these local businesses as a backbone to the town, and thank them for doing their part to keep the lights on in Cornwall Bridge, and wish them well in their new ventures. Any other communications?
No.
Of additions to the agenda, I had one, and that is opting out of the accessory dwelling unit regulation, state regulations. And I sent the board some information about that from Planning and Zoning Commission.
Hang on.
So, yep.
Hey,
Thank you.
Selectman being here.
The regular town hall.
Right.
Look at all the shoes, my goodness.
Don't get me started on that. Why don't you sit right here? That way you can see and hear everything.
Okay,
The Shanae's pals here.
okay.
Is the temperature okay for you? Are you warm
What?
enough? Are you warm enough?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna take my coat off. I've
All
got a
right.
sweater underneath.
all right. I'll let you get undressed and then I'll put you on camera.
Sorry,
Yeah,
we're just getting settled here.
it's good
All
to
set.
have
All
a
right,
satellite office in West Cornwall. That's good.
exactly.
Good.
Never know when you need that.
Appreciate people's flexibility.
Problem.
Yeah,
What we're all about here.
good. So we were in the middle of adding, opting out of state requirements for accessory dwelling units to the agenda. Is there a second to that?
So moved?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any other additions?
No, we have a long enough agenda. I think, do you have any additions, Priscilla?
No, I have
No.
nothing new to add.
We're good.
Okay. So jumping right in, Sharon Hospital hearing, there's a very important public hearing about New Vance Health's proposal to discontinue maternity delivery services at Sharon Hospital. That will be on the 18th of October. It says 19th on our agenda, but it's
Okay,
actually the 18th. So, and this board has come out in opposition to that proposal, And I have been talking to our state representative, Maria Horn, about it. So there is a public session, I think starts at 10 o'clock. Or no, there's a presentation starts from Newvance at 10 o'clock, and then the public session is in the afternoon. So this will go on for most of the day, if not longer. So I will present to the state. Our board has taken action, and I'll present that and give some extra words to that statement. And there is also going to be a rally in support of a full service Sharon Hospital on October 16th, which is the Sunday before. So anyway, I hope people, this is people's opportunity to try to preserve a very necessary service to our region. One that many families have benefited from, the excellent care at Sharon Hospital. It's one of the few 5-star hospitals in the state of Connecticut. And in many people's mind, very important to stay intact, full service, as was promised when Newvance bought the hospital several years ago. So anyway, stay tuned, because I think that's a very key issue to the region. Yes.
So,
And if the other selectmen want to make statements, I will send links. Or if any individuals, we'll put up whatever information we have, we'll get up on the website.
because I was gonna say, if we should write our own testimony, I mean, I'd certainly be happy to do that. And I think it'd probably be
think
very
that-
important for us to do.
I think it's important because there's going to be a lot of professional people talking on both sides, but it's also important for the state to hear from the elected officials, from the customers, from the people who rely on the hospital for healthcare. So whoever has an opinion or an experience to share, this is your chance. Because once it's gone, it's sort of gone. So, and
Can you
again,
send that
it's-
link out? Would you be willing to write a testimony also?
Sure.
Okay, so if you'll send it to us, we'll both write testimonials
Right.
too.
right,
That's no,
yeah,
and I
and
can-
I'll
I can-
send out information on the link when that hearing is, so people can tune in and watch the whole thing, and that's part of it, is live testimony also. And there is also, there's been some excellent coverage in the local papers about this. And so people can hear about what's being said at the community meetings that are being held about this. But it's pretty serious business here. Many of I think the physicians, it's important to realize, physicians at Sharon Hospital voted nearly unanimously against this proposal. It's pretty vital to our healthcare here. So anyway, that's front and center on our agenda for the coming month. It did spur a thought too, that there is an open house at the firehouse that same day, the October 16th day. So you can go to the open house, the firehouse, and then go over to Sharon to
Hey, John.
visit with people on the green. Afterwards, I think the rally at Sharon is at 2 o'clock on the 16th. Let's see. So anything else on Sharon Hospital? We wish it well. And I think I also did hear from our friends in North Canaan that the North Canaan Board of Selectmen just voted in support of a full service Sharon Hospital. So they will be testifying, as many of the towns in the region will be, sending in their opinions on the matter to the state. I know New York State is also municipalities there who are even more dependent on Sharon Hospital than some of the Connecticut towns. I think 60% of the business from Sharon Hospital comes from New York State. those municipalities are in their state, their county legislature are going to be active also. So anything else about Sharon Hospital? Okay, next, we have our new truck, highway department truck, all bright and shiny, has arrived and has been put into work. So that is good to have another new truck ahead of the season as the weather is turning. So I believe we're getting that all set up and ready to go for the winter. Town report, I drafted a town report covering our activities for the fiscal year that ended July 1st. This will be included in the town report that Barbara is compiling, that will be presented November 4th at the town meeting and be available ahead of that. What I did was something different, and I took our goals that the board adopted at the start of our term, which occurred last year for this board, and went over progress made for the goals that we set last November. And there was quite a bit of activity in the areas of housing, healthcare, West Cornwall wastewater project, updating the transfer station, continuing renovations of town buildings, improved internet service in town, disbursement of ARPA funds, implementing the plan of conservation development of 2020, supporting volunteer organizations, and continuing to attract new residents and businesses to town. So there's details on all those activities, but I thought that was a good way to frame what we've been doing and keep people up to date with progress made. And there is thanks given to all our partners and organizations and town boards to keep things moving forward. And also give credit to people like Barbara Bigos, who retired at the end of the reevaluation cycle after many years as town assessor. So anyway, is there any corrections, changes to that before we send it off to the printers?
Look, I think it looks pretty good, Gordon. Nicely
Yeah.
done. Any comment?
No, I like that it's brief
Yeah,
and
right?
to the point.
It is.
'Cause I think
Yeah.
people will read it because of its brevity and pointness.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Gold star for that.
Okay, that's it. Good.
Right.
So do we have a motion then to adopt that as our annual report to send off to the financial office to include in the town report?
Are you gonna make the motion?
So I'll
Second,
be happy to make that motion, yes.
Is there a second?
so moved?
Okay, any discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, unanimous. So next we have, now we have a report. We have to have a town meeting by state statute to accept the town report, which it's the only thing that has to be in there is the financials reports of the auditor, who has been hard at work, and Barbara's been hard at work answering the auditor's questions. We did end the year with a healthy surplus of funds. But anyway, there is also in that report is expanded beyond the minimum to include reports from town boards and commissions, which Barbara is working to draft into a coherent and well illustrated report. So we have a draft and also sparely written notice of the annual town meeting, which is going to be in November this year, on November 4th, 7:30 p.m. at the Cornwall Consolidated School for the following purposes: to receive reports of the officers, boards, and commissions having reports to make. Number one, that was number one. Number two was to adopt the 5-year capital plan of the town of Cornwall as recommended by the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. So is there a motion to send these two items to the town meeting?
And I'm happy that it's on a Friday.
Okay, good. And we understand we have to adopt the 5-year plan, and we'll do that in our next item. Okay, so Priscilla's moved that. So we'll have a couple things for you both to, we'll get these from draft form to signature ready condition for you after this meeting. So any other discussion on these two items? So again, the annual town meeting is in person, and we will have the vote. The only thing that's voted on is the 5-year capital plan that we'll be discussing next. That's for adoption. So, and that again has to be approved by the Board of Finance. But because we're having a vote, that's why we'll have it in person and not through Zoom, because there's a vote. But hopefully we'll eventually move towards a hybrid technology, but we're not there yet. So, so that's November 4th at CCS. So any other discussion about the town meeting November 4th?
Do you need for Janet and I to come over to sign these papers
I
at
mean,
town hall?
we're gonna have, the town meeting notice, the return of notice document, which says that we are responsible for making sure this gets published in a paper and posted at the signposts at the town hall and wherever else we normally post it, and that it gets put into the paper. And so that makes sure that that's public notice, but also it will be in the Chronicle website and other things that aren't legally required to do, but help people know what's happening. So we will have a package of stuff probably by, Joyce will call you when we're all set for signing.
Good, okay.
Yeah,
Later, probably, if not tomorrow, probably by Thursday, we'll be set with all this.
Fine,
okay.
happy to run over.
Okay, so all those in favor of having the annual town meeting on November 4th?
Aye.
Okay, again unanimous. Thank you. Moving down to the next item, we have the 5-year capital plan, which will be discussed and voted on at our meeting on November 4th. And again, it's fairly familiar format. This is required by the state in order to get funding for capital improvements. And this lays out in some way that the things that we're looking at. One thing I have not
Is that-
Do you have a copy of
do,
the 5-year
I
plan?
think I do somewhere, I'm looking for it.
Okay, I have it right here. If you need to see it.
Okay.
There's stuff to see on the screen.
You're living with-
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I worked with our town
Yeah.
departments to look at where we're at with things. This is mostly highway and public safety and buildings and things. One thing I think there's a major capital project at the school that I have not had a chance yet to see if they're gonna do in the next year. That's to redo some of the floors there. That's the only thing missing, but I think it might be a good time to put that in. So we'll just leave that as something we can add in. And again, this is just the plan. This is not obligate the town. This does not approve any spending, but it just lays out, these are some of the things we're thinking about so that we don't have to buy all the trucks, for example, in 1 year. We try to spread things out so there's sort of an even number. And we may not spend all this money but at least it lets people know these are some of the projects that are coming up. Obviously, couple big capital project that's not in there is the West Cornwall project, but that is, this is looking ahead and that money has been already approved. And again, these are sort of more or less recurring items of capital nature that we put in every year. And then we get approximately $100,000, I believe, from the state for doing these capital projects. So any other, so I'd make a motion that we adopt this with the possible addition of the reflooring project at the school, which I will find out about before we submit to the Board of Finance. I think we may meet again before the Board of Finance meeting, perhaps. So, but we will definitely meet again before the town meeting. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second to adopt this?
Second,
Any discussion?
I don't think so.
no, I
No.
don't think so.
Okay, yeah, and again, having dealt with some of the issues in our town report, it's nice not to have, probably not to have fiber optic or some of the other issues that can be big ticket items in our capital budget if there's alternate ways to pay for them. So, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so there's our 5-year plan. All right, next is the housing forum. Let's see, we have that coming up. There's a insert in the Chronicle about this. It's coming up on October 19th. And the details are in the Chronicle flyer. So we are looking to have a couple of presentations, introduce our new housing advocate, who's Jessica Brackman, who's been working with Heather on some housing things. She's also working on fundraising for the Food and Fuel Fund. And thank the people that have contributed to that. We have seen an uptick in contributions, which is very necessary for that. And again, necessary work there, and have been in touch with P&Z and the Cornwall Housing Corporation about making an update presentations about what's happening on their schedule as far as housing issues in town go. So again, there may not be any earth-shattering news, but it's again, the social service needs, the housing needs in town have only increased over time, have not decreased. So it's great to have an advocate who's motivated and available, and expand our scope of service in town. So
what time did you say that was on the 19th?
I think it's 7 o'clock, but I'd have to
Okay.
refer to that.
And that's a Zoom meeting, correct?
That is a Zoom meeting, yes.
Okay.
Right, and we actually will be meeting the night before that as a board. That is
Okay.
a Zoom, hoping that we again allow people to watch things from the comfort of their own homes, or if they're not in town, participate. Good format. Anything else on housing things? Again, another important event is the COVID flu clinics, which are happening on the 12th of October at Town Hall, and that will be for flu and all varieties of COVID vaccines, boosters. Thanks to Park and Rec people for help coordinating that and run that with Griffin Hospital. They've been very popular in the past, and there certainly is COVID cases showing up, a bit of an uptick in town recently. So I'm going to put out some extra publicity about that as we head into the cooler months and people get inside more. It's really important for people to stay up on this, and it's great to have those options available, as well as people can go to the pharmacies and get the shots. But it's great to have an effort in publicity in town to make that happen. So we look forward to that next week. Just, okay, anything else on vaccinations?
No,
We
you just
have,
need to bring ID and insurance card, correct? You don't need, do you need to bring your vaccine passport?
I think you do, because I mean, they're gonna want to know
That's
what,
I think so.
what needle to give,
Well, they also want to stamp it.
right? Yeah. So
And a photo ID, your license.
that's,
Yep.
that's very important. Yeah, thank you for those thoughts, that people can't just show up and say, I want a shot. You want to have
Yes.
your passports and your vaccine information and your ID and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your healthcare, your healthcare card.
Right.
And just a nice compliment, Jen Marco does such a good job at all these events.
Along with Michelle
Right.
Ship. Really appreciate
Right.
it.
Good teamwork there. And
It is.
yeah, it makes it, lightens things up a little bit. It's very good. But yeah, so it's important people to get a good spend a little time there. It may take a bit, as they said, they have been sometimes a little bit of a crowd. So day before that, we're scheduling a meeting for the Wastewater Meeting for West Cornwall, the committee. So that again will be on Zoom, 5 o'clock. The date is Tuesday, the 11th. And I've talked to Todd about that, so he's on board. So we'll get an agenda out probably the next day or two and get that meeting cycle going again. And I would anticipate that the committee would be meeting every month again as we get back into project mode. Couple issues, that we'll be looking at is front and center will be site. So if there are people out there that have a site for a wastewater management project in West Cornwall, let me know. We will consider all sites. We have already looked at a couple of places, and we are open to other alternatives that meet the engineering requirements and the building requirements of the facility. So that's one thing that's out there. And of course, the time schedule. And a big thing is going to be getting Steve to work on making sure we nail down the grants that have been applied for. There's a bunch of environmental reporting that has to be done. And there may be some other grant opportunities out there for the town to explore. So again, if we can get more grants to put towards the project, we will. And then the third thing we're gonna be looking at is the timeline, potential timeline to do all this. I have talked to Steve several times, and we have in front of us a contract that has been reviewed by Pearlie Grimes, the town attorney. It's very short. It's even called a short-term agreement, short form agreement. And it basically lays out the conditions of work between the town and the engineering firm, a WMC, who the town voted to retain. There are just two changes, and we've been going back and forth a little bit, but two changes agreed to that didn't show up in the latest draft. And one is increasing the liability insurance to $1 million. That would be in under section G. That would be increased to $1 million. And a small other thing would be the engineer's standard hourly rates would be in attachment B, not appendix 1. Of interest of this, I think, to everybody is going to be that his estimate of his time, now that he's familiar with the project, he's estimating that his charges will be in the neighborhood because this is time and materials of somewhere around $350,000. In the referendum, the estimate that was in there was somewhere around 500,000. So again, that adds to our ability to have, a contingency fund there. There's several things in there that we are confident will help us if there are unforeseen circumstances. Things will break in our favor. Things may be unanticipated, but again, I think he's very committed to this project. I think his rate's very reasonable, and I think starting off with a pretty substantial savings is a good way to start the project. And again, we're trying to do a long-term, well-engineered system, but if we can do it for less money than we anticipate and get grants or find some practical savings, we will. And I think we've got some good people on the committee that can make up some suggestions that will help us refine the project. So anyway, I think it's very exciting to be at this point, and I would like a motion from the board to authorize, to authorize me to sign this contract with Steve McDonald of WMC Engineers, with the understanding of those two changes to the contract, the liability insurance and the attachment.
So moved.
So there's a motion and a second from,
Definitely a second from one of the original wastewater committee members here in West Cornwall.
and how appropriate, you're right down in the middle of West Cornwall
Yeah.
to make a motion. Okay, ground zero, so to speak. So, so there's a motion, a second, any discussion? No, I think, again, I think we've got a very talented group engineering this and a good cross-section on the committee. And we'll start on a regular basis so people can keep track of the project. We'll try to get a work schedule out there so people know what's happening the best we can, and we'll try to shake out whatever grants are there and look at a location for everything and try to make it all fit as best we can into that special village. Okay, so
Good.
anything else on that? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I think it's good also to get this motion done, so when Steve meets with the committee, he will be engaged, so to speak. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, so that's a big deal. Other big deals, we'll probably a little less deals, but we do have some fall road projects set up. One is also on River Road, West Cornwall. There has been washout, I think I mentioned that, along the banks of the river, up on the narrow section there where the guardrail, the dirt section where the guardrail is right next to the river. There's a cone there if people want to inspect the spot, but we've lost some of the boulders that have held the bank in place for years. It's very steep there. We also had Steve McDonald, who's a engineer who we just hired to do the wastewater thing, come out and take a look at the site, and he recommended along with Jim to do a similar treatment to that section as we did on Millbrook River Road by the Route 128 earlier this year, where we rebuilt an embankment there to the satisfaction of the local residents. This will be probably only a 50-foot piece of embankment, but will require quite a few truckloads of good-sized rock. We're not talking about Millbrook, which has enough power, but we are talking about the Stonic River. Inland Wetlands is meeting about this tonight, and Karen has notified other environmental groups. Steve has said that the current acceptable practice is to use native stone, not riprap or manufactured or poured concrete things, but try to make it blend as much as we can using like something looks like it might have been in the river or what. So we are going to use Steve Dean from Falls Village, who has big machinery and helps place stones. Earlier this year on Millbrook, and we're going to use quite a few loads of stone to put that in place. It'll be only about 50 feet or less of embankment, but it probably will take us about 3 days to do in early November, at which time River Road will be closed while we're working during the day. I hope, one question I don't have, but I hope we can open it up at night. But again, we have some big machinery down there, and we'll have to park that in the dump trucks and everything else. So it will be a noticeable impact for a short period of time, but hopefully we'll keep that section of road in place when the river fills back up. It's a perfect time to do it at this current time because the river's down about as low as anybody's seen in the fall. So we hope to get on this first part of November. So stay tuned. And again, we will put up road to be closed signs there and notify residents along on the far side of River Road. Again, this is about halfway up the dirt section where it's right next to the river. So,
I have a quick question, Gordon.
yes.
Did we get a budget for that already?
No, but we think we have money. We have some bridge repair money that we can use. And
Okay.
I think it will be maybe $10,000, something like that. Most of that's going to be, if we have the question, I think we can get the rocks for free. We're going to haul them with the town trucks. So we're going to use it. I think if we can get a good price on the rocks, which will be minimal, then it would just be the machine time. So I would be surprised if it hits $10,000.
But we don't
But-
need to allocate new funds. We've already got funds.
We can have funds in, because
Excellent.
we have road materials, we have some bridge
Okay.
repair. Not
Good.
really, well, there's a culvert there that's part of the whole setup, but we have money in the budget. It's not a major repair, but it could be if it got worse.
Okay. Heard. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. So also we have another project. We're replacing a culvert on Fox Road in Cornwall Hollow, with 3-foot diameter pipe. Not as extensive project as on River Road, but that road will have to be closed probably for a day while we put a new pipe in there. And then we've been regrading some of the roads, Flat Rocks Road, trying to do a new treatment up there because they had a very bad mud season up there last year, which has become a chronic thing as there's more traffic on that road. It has mud issues, so we're trying to shake that up. So we'll be working in all 4 corners of the town, and then we have been busy screening sand, which we recycle some of the road sand we use in the winter time. And so we're getting ready for worse weather. So anyway, things have been busy down at the garage. Anything else on fall road work?
No, we're good.
I think it's very good to have that Jim pulled off getting that truck, because a lot of towns, a lot of places, if you tried it, you wanted to buy one right now, they'd be a year before you can even get one. So knowing some of the people in the business helps. Okay, so let's see, tax refunds. Barbara, we have tax refund. Can you tell us the amount?
So there are, I think, 2, and they're both to the same person. I did a share screen on, no, can you see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Total dollar amount for $4,968.51.
Okay, so I'll make your motion that we approve that expenditure on Gene's recommendation. Is there a second?
So moved.
Okay. All right, so any discussion? All those in
No.
favor?
I,
Aye. Okay. Next, we have the item of accessory dwelling units, which are a popular topic and are a key component of our town housing plan.
that was in addition to the,
I sent you a memo from Anna Tamel, the Planning and Zoning Commission, about her report from a land use attorney, fairly well known, about the issue because the state passed legislation last year saying if the towns don't opt out of some legislation concerning address accessory dwelling units, they'd be at a disadvantage. And currently Cornwall has more generous allowances for accessory dwelling units, and we hope to make those allowances even more generous in the coming year. We'll be talking about that at the housing forum. So it's a recommendation that the planning and zoning had a hearing about this, and they voted back in June to opt out of this. So it would be my suggestion, as required by the state, that the town also does do this so that we don't have a state regulation that conflicts with our regulations, which may be more appropriate to the town than what the state requirements are. So I'll make that motion to support the planning and zoning efforts to craft improved regulations by opting out of the state guidelines. There are, I mean, just for background, there are some towns that do not allow accessory dwelling units, which we sort of take for granted, but the town of Cornwall also had to vote almost 30 years ago to allow these accessory apartments, which have become fairly popular and common and well used. But there are places that do not allow you to have an apartment over your garage. You just have a single family house and that's it on your lot. So that's what the state housing advocates were trying to do to address that. Fortunately, we'd already addressed it before. So, all right, so there's a motion and a second.
second,
Okay, any more discussion?
No,
All, okay, all those in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, so stay tuned on that issue. So next is public comment. Any public comments? Any comments from the press?
No, thank you. I'm all set.
Okay, great. Glad to hear you're all set. There's a lot of information there, a lot of events going on, and I am going to put out hopefully a coming events page for people, because this will be a particularly action-packed next couple of weeks in the town with a lot of events going on
Carrie,
as we do get into fall. So anyway, we're working on that. Okay, so anyway, thank you all for coming. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
third,
Okay, great. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
I.
I.
Thank you. All right.